present to you, briefly recap what Luca Rubini said about the inadequacy of the current rules, and then explore some options for solutions that we could later go into discussion and look at the benefits and drawbacks of them. So the topic of my presentation is what institutions might complement the WTO in addressing green industrial policy, particularly with respect to subsidies for green industrial policy. And as I'm at the end of a session, I know I need to keep things relatively snappy, brief, so I'll try and answer 3 questions. Why should we think about using complementary institutions? What should these complementary institutions be charged with doing? And who or which institutions should we consider for these complementary or third-party institutions? So, as I said, and as Luca very, very capably showed, the current rules are quite simply not adequate to deal with subsidies for which the globally beneficial climate change mitigation effect could outweigh the negative trade distorting effects. Within the SCM, this is their one crucial deficit, and various solutions have been posited which generally fall within 2 categories: WTO internal and WTO external. I think it's incontrovertible that as a solution we want 2 predominant benchmarks against which we can judge its effectiveness. First of all is the effectivity of the solution, in other words, what subsidies it does allow, and secondly, how quickly we can implement this new solution that would allow globally beneficial subsidies. And let me recall what Aaron said about this really being a topic that needs to be dealt with soon in the whole context of global climate change. So various WTO internal solutions have been posited, which we won't have time to fully explore and rule out. Maybe we can go back to later in discussion. But Luca touched on the applicability of Article 20 of the GATT as a justification. And other solutions, such as the revival of the non-actionable subsidies category under Article 8 of the SCM, or even creation of a comprehensive energy agreement, which has been suggested by Thomas Cotier, the WTI, which would include all aspects of energy, including subsidies for renewable energy. But compared to our 2 yardsticks, these WTO internal solutions fall at either one or the other. Either they're not effective in allowing solutions, or politically they're infeasible to achieve within an effective time period. So what I am going to do today is suggest what I would term a WTO external solution, or a system of subsidy management by another institution. So for this solution to work, we'd have to have various things. 3 things, crucially, which I'm going to explain up on the PowerPoint. First of all, you need a carve-out or delegation clause from the SCM for renewable energy subsidies, as defined by the third party. And the main benefit of this, when compared to other solutions, is that this is the only negotiation you would need within the WTO. This carve-out clause could very well be 1 or 2 sentences, and could indeed draw largely upon other climate change and renewable energy wordings that we have within international law. Second, the function of the third-party institution would be to define the exempt subsidies. And in doing this, they would take into consideration 3 factors. First of all, the contemporary science of renewable energy, of climate change. In other words, the innovations in technology which prospectively could be made and those which have promise. Second would be taking into consideration effective industrial policy. And harking back to the brand new farmer principles, two particularly stand out. Those of sunset clauses and being able to quantify the success or not of industrial policy and renewable energy subsidies. Third and finally, the institution would take into consideration the value of the renewable energy subsidy and its effects to the global community. In other words, it would be able to weigh the positive climate change mitigation's effects against the negative trade distorting effects. And taking into account these three considerations, the institution would be able to create a list of defined exempt subsidy projects which states could avail themselves with to protect their subsidy projects from the rules of the SCM. In terms of procedure, I envisage a system of authentication. Let me explain what I mean by that. States that do wish to avail themselves of this exemption would have to apply to the third-party institution, who would then authorise or certificate that the subsidy project fell within the definition that they had expounded. If either this authentication was not granted, or if the state didn't search this exemption yet later relied upon it, there would be a prima facie presumption of illegality, and it would be later for the state to prove that it was them that fit, it was their subsidy project that fitted within the definition. So also, one of the great benefits of this would be that, stemming from a clause of delegation or carve-out clause of the SCM, the subsidy management system would essentially be a lex specialis of the SCM, and hence any disputes would be able to avail themselves of the, I'm sure we can all agree, effective on the international level WTO dispute mechanism. So what benefits would this system of subsidy management give us? There are three main benefits, as we have upon the PowerPoint. First of all would be an injection of expertise in terms of scientific, technical expertise, and also industrial policy expertise related to renewable energies. Second would be the reactiveness of technology of this list of exempt subsidies. And this is particularly important when contrasted to a solution based within the WTO, such as a revival of non-actionable subsidies. Because the economic power and potential of the renewable energy sector creates vast pressure for innovation to find the next profitable, feasible technology. To go back to the WTO and negotiate a new exempt subsidy for each one of these would obviously take a lot longer than for a third-party institution to change their exempt subsidies. And third and finally, the benefit is, like the other solutions postulated, the flexibility to allow globally beneficial subsidies. Now, like I've said with the WTO internal solutions, there aren't solutions which would be perfect. And obviously there are two problems that need to be addressed in relation to the system of subsidy management, which I've outlined for you. First of all, some people may critique the solution in saying that unless the third-party institution has exactly the same membership as the WTO, the legitimacy of this institution to take decisions would be compromised. But I suggest to you that this argument of illegitimacy is misplaced, because legitimacy of the third-party institution would actually stem from the delegation clause from the SCM, the carve-out clause, essentially from the agreement of the WTO members themselves for this delegation. And second, whilst I've said that the only negotiation within the WTO would have to be a carve-out clause of 2 sentences or so, some may indeed critique by saying that the negotiation of this would evidently be longer and harder than anyone would think. And I accept this critique. It would not be easy. However, everyone agrees on the global importance of climate change and can see the global importance of renewable energy technologies. Quite simply, a 1 or 2 sentence phrase embodying this agreement, I don't believe would be out of the question. So let me finally move on to who or which institution could we consider as a system, a manager of a system of subsidy management. You see, we have 2 needs for such a candidate: specialization, in other words, technical expertise and industrial policy expertise within the realm of renewable energies. And secondly, a permanent secretariat, so we could have this reactiveness that I mentioned to you before. We could have a constant review of new innovative science and even the best industrial policies for such innovative technologies. So for candidates, let me quickly suggest to you 2. First of all, the International Renewable Energy Agency, which, while a very nascent organisation, holds a great deal of promise, I believe, in this area. It aims to build technical, scientific and policy expertise, particularly within renewable energy. And pertinent for us is Article 4A of the Statute of ARENA, which states that it will have competencies in the analysis, monitoring and systematization of current renewable energy practices, including policy instruments and incentives. However, while ARENA's mandate seems perfectly suited to this role as a subsidy manager, the inaugural assembly of ARENA was only in April this year, so perhaps it might be too young to consider it. Another option, which I won't explore too much, is the OECD, whose work in green innovation, particularly within the Directorate of Science, Technology and Industry, has been very, very valuable and looked particularly at this intersection of effective industrial policy and effective prospective scientific innovations within the realm of renewable energy. So let me briefly conclude. The solution that I've proposed to you today has 2 main benefits. First, its speed of implementation, and secondly, the fact that it would allow, in the end, beneficial global subsidies. Whilst not perfect, it's more feasible, more realistic, and more effective than many of the other solutions that have been posited. So, to conclude, I urge you to consider the possibilities offered by building upon the work of third-party institutions as a solution to this problem. I look forward to any questions that you might have about what I've said today.